All right, let's jump right into today's deep dive.
Sounds good.
We're going to be dissecting Lean Body 90. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've seen the ads around. Seems to be pretty popular.
It is. And it's targeted, like laser focused on high performers.
Interesting.
Now, we're not just going to talk about the workouts and the meal plans.
Okay, right.
We're going to kind of go deeper.
Yeah.
How does this program use psychology and marketing to really connect with people, who are driven?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get into it.
So right away, one thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but the language they use is very like high achiever, like they
Right.
use phrases like, you don't have to be stuck in an unhealthy lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely seen that.
Or like, you know what you need to do, ... But that doesn't mean you are doing what's necessary to change.
It's like they're speaking directly to me.
Right.
To us.
Yeah.
Like that gap between what we know we should be doing.
And then what we're actually doing, especially, when it comes to health.
Totally. Like they're acknowledging that, yeah, we know what to do, but we're not always doing it.
And they back it up, too. They've got these big names.
Oh, yeah. Testimonials. I've seen those.
Yeah, like Mark Manson, like huge best-selling author.
Right.
Mark Feldman, CEO, like they're kind of saying, hey, if these super successful people are doing it, then maybe you can too.
It's like proof of concept in a way.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
What do you mean?
They also tap into like our fear of falling behind.
Oh, interesting.
There's this line, it's like, if you don't get this fixed,
Okay.
you are at risk of losing the same drive and motivation that made you a high performer in the first place. That's kind of a scary thought.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Like you're going to lose your edge.
It plays on that fear of decline for sure.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be, left in the dust.
Right. Especially, for people who are used to being at the top of their game.
So what's the solution to all this?
Right.
What do they actually offer?
It seems like their big focus is on fitting fitness into a really busy lifestyle.
Okay.
They talk about minimal equipment,
Got it.
quick workouts, sustainable systems.
Yeah, systems.
It's like they're saying, we know you're busy, you're out there conquering the world.
Right.
Here's how to get fit without having to like completely change your life.
Yeah, that resonates with me for sure. And speaking of systems, did you see that quote they have from Scott Adams?
Oh, the goals are for losers, systems are for winners.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's pretty bold.
It is, isn't it?
Right.
Like a little in your face.
Yeah, but it also kind of sets the stage for what they're all about.
Right.
Like they're not just about quick fixes, they're about like a total lifestyle change.
Totally. And I think that's, the key takeaway for now.
All right, so they've got our attention, but what do these systems actually look like?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Let's break it down, shall we?
Let's break it down. Okay, so we've talked about the marketing, the psychology, the sizzle.
Right, the sizzle.
Now let's get to the steak.
Let's see what they're actually serving up.
Yeah, like what's the actual program, Does it live up to the hype?
Well, they've got those three main parts, remember?
Yeah, the workout, the food, the sleep.
Right, workout system, nutrition plan, sleep system, and we were talking about the 3x30 method, those metabolic workouts.
Yeah, 30 minutes, 3 times a week. Sounds almost too good to be true.
Right. Can you really get a good workout in just 30 minutes?
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, it all comes down to the science behind these metabolic workouts. It's not like, just jogging on a treadmill for an hour.
Okay.
It's more about high-intensity interval training, HIIT.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And strength training to really get your heart rate up and challenge your muscles in short bursts.
So instead of like steady state cardio, it's more like go all out for a bit, recover, then repeat.
Exactly. And the idea is it's more efficient.
Interesting.
Studies have shown that even short bursts of intense exercise can have a big impact.
Like on what?
Like your heart health, muscle growth, and calorie burning.
Oh, so you burn more calories even after you're done working out.
Exactly. That's the afterburn effect.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, 30 minutes might not seem like a lot, but if you're really pushing yourself, it can be super effective. Plus, for busy people, that time efficiency is a big plus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But do they actually tell you what exercises to do?
They keep the details on the website pretty vague.
Really?
Yeah, they mention videos and stuff, but they don't really give you a clear picture of the workouts.
Maybe they want to keep some mystery, make you sign up to find out.
Could be a marketing tactic, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the workouts, a little bit unclear. What about the food?
Right, the easy eating nutrition plan.
Autopilot fat loss, they call it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty appealing, but what does it actually mean?
That's what I want to know.
From what I can tell, it seems like a pretty balanced approach, focused on protein.
So not like some crazy restrictive diet.
No, they even talk about enjoying your food,
Okay, that's good.
which makes sense, for busy people who don't want to spend hours meal prepping.
Right, right.
And they do have that 5-minute meals cookbook.
Yeah, 5-minute meals, that's got to be like super simple stuff.
I'm a little skeptical, but we'd have to see the actual recipes.
Yeah, true. But what about this autopilot fat loss thing?
I think it's partly marketing, but there is some science behind it.
How so?
Well, eating more protein can help you feel fuller and boost your metabolism, which can lead to fat loss without feeling like you're starving yourself.
So it's more about making sustainable changes rather than just like white knuckling it through some crazy diet.
Exactly. And that fits with their whole idea of systems and habits over quick fixes.
Okay, that makes sense. Now remember those 11 problems they list?
Oh yeah, the ones all high performers supposedly face.
Yeah, I want to go back to those because some of them really resonated with me.
Which ones?
Well, the one about overcomplicating workouts for sure. I think a lot of us high achievers, we tend to overthink everything.
Right, we want to optimize everything.
And sometimes that can lead to like analysis paralysis.
And then we end up not doing anything at all.
Exactly. And they also mentioned spending too much time planning and researching, which, guilty as charged.
Oh yeah, I've spent hours researching workout routines and nutrition plans.
It's like we're always searching for that perfect program, but we forget to actually, just move our bodies and eat healthy food.
And I think that's where Lean Body 90's emphasis on simplicity can be helpful.
Yeah, like just give me a plan and let me follow it.
Exactly. They're saying, trust the system, do the work, and you'll get results.
But isn't that also kind of appealing to our need for control? Like we want to hack our fitness, optimize everything.
That's an interesting point. I think it plays into that whole idea of high performance. We want to be the best at everything we do.
But is that always healthy?
That's a good question, and one we could probably debate for a while.
Yeah, maybe another time. But for now, let's move on to their sleep system.
Right, the high performance sleep system.
It's kind of funny how they make sleep sound like, some kind of secret weapon.
It is a shift in perspective for sure. Like, in a culture that often glorifies busyness, they're saying sleep is important, especially if you want to be successful.
Yeah, it's like they're giving us permission to prioritize sleep.
Exactly. And for people who are always on the go, that can be a really powerful message.
Okay, but what do they actually tell you to do? Like beyond the usual stuff about sleep hygiene?
Well, they do cover the basics,
Hmm.
like having a regular sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, making sure your bedroom is dark and quiet.
Right, right.
But they also talk about the impact of stress and technology on sleep,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for me.
right? Like, how do you switch off when you're constantly connected, always thinking about work?
Exactly. And do they address that?
They do. They talk about creating a digital sunset, disconnecting from devices at least an hour before bed.
That's a good idea.
They also suggest things like meditation or deep breathing exercises to help you relax and unwind.
Those are all good tips. But do they talk about like the bigger picture? Like work culture, societal expectations, all that stuff.
Not really. They mostly focus on individual actions and habits.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it is important to remember that, sometimes it's not just about individual choices. There are these bigger forces that can make it hard to prioritize sleep.
Absolutely. And that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So we've covered workouts, nutrition, sleep. It seems like they've got all the bases covered. But the big question is, does it actually work?
That's what we all want to know, right? And honestly, it's hard to say for sure.
How come?
Well, they have those testimonials on their website, people saying how much the program has changed their lives.
Right, but those are just like the success stories.
Exactly. And it's always
Yeah.
a good idea to be a little skeptical of those.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different, right? What works for one person might not work for another.
And it's always best to talk to your doctor before starting any new fitness program.
So where did that leave us? Should people sign up for Lean Buddy 90 or what?
I think it's worth considering, especially if you're a busy person who wants a structured approach to fitness.
Okay.
But it's not a magic bullet, and it's important to remember that you have to put in the work.
And find what works for you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to health and fitness.
All right, so Lean Body 90, interesting program, clever marketing, but ultimately you got to do your own research and figure out what's right for you.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and wrap up this deep dive. Okay, so we've talked about the workouts, the food, those 5-minute meals.
Right, right.
But now let's get to, I think, what might be the most important part.
Okay.
Sleep. I mean, Lean Body 90 calls it their high-performance sleep system, which
Yeah.
kind of sounds like marketing jargon to me.
It does a little bit.
But I'm curious, is there actually something to this?
Well, I think what's really interesting is just the way they frame it.
Hope so.
I mean, we live in a world that's all about, hustle, grind, never stop.
Right, like sleep when you're dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're saying, no, sleep is important,
Okay.
especially if you want to perform at your best.
So it's like they're giving you permission to actually prioritize sleep,
Exactly.
which for a lot of high achievers can be kind of a radical idea.
I know, right? Like, sleep is not a weakness, it's actually a strength.
Okay, so I like the framing, but what do they actually tell you to do? Like beyond the usual, sleep hygiene stuff,
Right, right.
is there anything new here?
Well, they do cover the basics, like
Yeah.
having a consistent sleep schedule, like going to bed and waking up around the same time every day,
Yeah, that makes sense.
creating a relaxing bedtime routine,
Okay.
making sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, cool, all that good stuff.
Got it, got it.
But they also talk about the impact of stress and technology on sleep, which I think is really important, especially for high performers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, how do you turn off your brain when you're constantly, connected thinking about work?
Exactly.
And they have solutions for that.
They do. They do. They talk about creating a digital sunset, like actually disconnecting from your devices at least an hour before bed.
Okay. No phones in the bedroom.
Exactly.
All right, I can do that.
And they also suggest things like meditation, deep breathing exercises
Hmm.
to help you calm down and relax before you go to sleep.
Those are all good tips. But do they ever, address the bigger picture? Like,
Right.
the fact that our work culture kind of glorifies busyness,
Right.
or that there's this constant pressure to achieve, to be productive.
Yeah, not really. Their focus is definitely more on individual actions and habits.
Yeah, which makes sense, I guess.
But it is important to acknowledge that sometimes, it's not just about personal choices.
Right.
There are these external factors that
Yeah.
can make it hard to prioritize sleep, even when you know you should.
Yeah, for sure. But, for the sake of this deep dive, let's bring it back to Lean Body 90.
Okay.
They might not be tackling those bigger societal issues,
Mhm.
but I do appreciate that they're at least, shining a light on the importance of sleep,
Absolutely.
especially for people who are trying to perform at a high level.
And I think their approach, framing it as a performance enhancer is really smart
It is. It is.
because it speaks to that, achievement-oriented mindset.
Yeah, like if you want to be successful, you need to sleep.
Exactly.
So they've got the workouts, the nutrition, the sleep,
Right.
all tailored to high performers.
Seems like a pretty comprehensive system.
But the question is, does it actually work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
How come?
Well, they have those testimonials on the website, people saying how much Lean Body 90 has changed their lives.
Right, but those are just the success stories.
Yeah,
Like, we don't know how many people tried it and didn't get those results.
And it's important to remember that everyone's different.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
And, I mean, you should always talk to your doctor before starting any new fitness program.
Absolutely. Always a good idea.
So, what's the bottom line? Should our listeners run out and sign up for Lean Body 90?
I think it's worth considering, especially if you're, busy, looking for a structured approach to fitness.
Okay.
But it's not a magic solution, and you definitely have to be willing to put in the work.
And figure out what works for you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to health and fitness.
All right, so that wraps up our deep dive into Lean Body 90.
It was a good one.
It was. It was. We learned about their marketing, their system, the good, the bad, the maybe not so good,
And hopefully, our listeners have a better understanding of what this program is all about.
and whether it might be right for them.
Ex-
So, as always, do your research, think critically, and find what works for you.
Couldn't said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.